It goes right through the middle like
for helping us out with this rally. If we can get everybody... Great, so I want to thank everybody for coming out to our pre-election rally for ancient forests and forestry jobs. And today we stand on Coast Salish First Nations territory with gratitude in a convergence of some of the most diverse groups of people in the province. Conservationists and forestry workers from the Harmac and Crofton Mills. First Nations and non-First Nations, business owners and union members, and big animals and small animals. Marching together in unity, calling on BC's politicians to protect our endangered old-growth forests, to ensure sustainable second-growth forestry, to ensure value-added manufacturing and an end to raw log exports, and to implement First Nations land use plans. Across the world, BC's old-growth forests are renowned for their beauty and grandeur, with trees as wide as living rooms and as tall as downtown skyscrapers. Our old-growth forests are vital to support endangered species, tourism, the climate, clean water, wild salmon, and BC's First Nations people whose unceded lands that they are on. And over the span of a century, they've supported hundreds of thousands of forestry workers. But a century of high-grade overcutting has depleted the biggest and best old-growth trees in the valley bottoms and the lowlands, which historically built the industry, and has resulted in diminishing returns as the trees get smaller, lower in value, and more expensive to reach higher up the mountainsides. Today, more than 90% of the high-productivity old-growth forests in southern BC are gone. And as our old-growth forests are destroyed, so too are the human and natural communities that depend on them. More than 70 BC mills have closed, and over 30,000 BC forestry jobs have been lost. And as old-growth forests are depleted and harvesting shifts to second-growth stands, which now constitute the majority of the forested land base in southern BC, BC's forestry jobs are being exported as raw logs due to a failure to retool our old-growth mills to handle second-growth logs and to develop value-added industries. Similarly, BC's wildlife are being pushed to the brink of extinction. At one time, there were more than 1,000 spotted owls in BC. Today, less than a dozen individuals survive in BC's wilds. It's a species about to go extinct in this province. Mountain caribou numbers continue to plummet, and the unique Vancouver Island wolverine is probably extinct now. Hasn't been seen in 20 years. As the decimation of old-growth forests occurs, it also means that most First Nations will be left with a sea of stumps and tree plantations by the time they settle their treaties on their unceded lands. And the fact is that history is replete with examples of unsustainable resource depletion resulting in the collapse of ecosystems, jobs, and in fact whole civilizations. BC's politicians have a responsibility to learn from rather than to repeat history's mistakes. So let's be clear that no politician in British Columbia deserves our votes in the coming BC election unless they're willing to come forward and commit to a sustainable forestry overhaul in this province. So you know, I previously worked as a biologist. Does anyone know what is the most endangered species in this province? It's the BC Liberal Party. Christy Clark has a chance to leave a legacy. In her last stretch, on her way out, she can be remembered, and the BC Liberals can be remembered as the party that finally brought an end to the war in the woods in this province, or they can be remembered as the despoilers of beautiful British Columbia. Either way, they're going to have a legacy. That's right. And if Christy Clark can't commit to saving ancient forests and ending raw log exports before this election is called, then she and her party absolutely deserve to go the way of the spotted owl. And at the same time, Adrian Dix, during his bid for the NDP leadership in 2011, made a good promise. And it was a promise that if he became party leader, he would support a provincial old-growth plan and protect specific, immediately endangered old-growth forests if he became the NDP leader. He is now the NDP leader, and unfortunately he hasn't since mentioned his promise, and neither has the party. So it's also important that you all make Dix stand firm for ancient forests and BC jobs. So today my spirit is buoyed by seeing such diverse people converging together to support a shared vision. It's when people see beyond their own narrow interests and their own group and try to see the situation of others, human and non-human, that this world becomes a better place. It's when environmentalists strive to see the needs of thousands of forestry workers, First Nations and rural communities who need jobs and revenues, as everybody does, that the world becomes a better place. It's when forestry workers strive to see that forests have value not just in their wood fiber or for the next paycheck, but also because the forest itself is alive and is home to countless creatures that evolved over millennia with their own rights to flourish. That's when progress is made. And it's when non-First Nations strive to see the needs of First Nations who necessarily want conservation of their cultures and unceded lands, but also need economic development, 21st century style like everybody else, and should not be expected to be limited to only traditional activities. That's when progress is made. And when we all work to see bigger, to be bigger in our spirits, to be wiser and open-minded and more caring for others, to go beyond ourselves and our own group, that's when this world becomes a better place. And so by thinking bigger, our movement gets bigger. Throughout history, the fundamental driver for social change and environmental progress are large-scale, broad-based movements of diverse people who develop and push for a shared vision. So together, we'll see that during this pivotal pre-election period, that we'll move by leaps and bounds. The last speaker here, I just wanted to point out as well that these banners here were made by the former mill workers of the Yubo Timberless Society. It was the workers who were thrown out of employment from the former Yubo sawmill who made the Hands Off the Old Growth banner and the Banner All Log Exports banner that we've been using for years now. So the first real alliance with the timber workers began with Ken James. I don't know if did Ken make it here? He was saying he was gonna... I'll just explain what's going on, all right? With the Ring-Around-the-Legislature. We need a system to follow in order to pull off the Ring-Around-the-Legislature. Okay, so this is the way it's gonna go. We're gonna have this banner, the Hands Off the Old Growth, go to my right. You're gonna go that way to the right, and the Ban Log Export, and that howl, then if everyone can pick up on that, it'll spread around the entire building and signify to you that the circle is closed. About a just and sustainable society. And then you want to think about what you're going to do to make that happen. And at the end of those 2 minutes, we're going to let out another howl. And that'll be the end of the rally. So we're most grateful for everybody for taking part in today's pre-election rally. There's a lot more to come. And yeah, so if we can now be disciplined and orderly. The Hands Off the Old Growth banner goes to the right, and the Ban Log Exports banner goes to the left, and dividing down sort of the middle, like over there, if we can split right and left, and join hands and wait for the howl. And then 2 minutes of silence, another howl ends it. Thank you.
Keep going into the sun. We gotta go in the sun.
Yeah. Hold home with.
Yeah. Always plan for my stomach.
I feel like a lick how far. I think so.
He's like, I know you're
Just pay the toll.
Can you keep it for now and then Joan?
See if you don't like my jaws off.
Thank you.
So him and works on
Higher than any other place.
But he had one.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Somebody else at the same restaurant we
This Lions has a fundraiser on Saturday weekend.
What's the what?
Oh no! Oh no! There you go. No, no more.
Christy Clark said that I would cut down the irony.
I'm still here, yeah.
See ya.
Okay. I go to your restaurant. Thank you.